All right, hi guys. I am going to record myself doing the scrimmage. Just give me one quick second. Okay, perfect. All right. All right, let's get started. I am going to take a look at this scrimmage for your test on Friday. Let me just find the right one. Perfect. Okay. Great. So first thing I'm going to do, for something like this, I'd probably recommend trying the box method, especially because when I do this, remember it's first times last, there are no factors of -30 that add to -12. If you try -15 and 2, doesn't work. If you try -6 and 5, doesn't work. If you try -30 and 1, also doesn't work. That means that this is prime. Great. All right, now for something like this, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take out the GCF. Bx, x squared plus 9x plus 20. I'm still going to keep that GCF on the outside, but this is something that you should know how to factor. I put my parentheses, I put my signs, I put my x and my x, and I put a 4 and a 5. I check my outside and my inside. 4x plus 5x is indeed 9x. So I'm going to erase everything I don't need, and this is my answer. Great. Cool. All right, now same thing for this one. Take out the GCF. I get x squared minus 4. That gives me 3, x minus 2, x plus 2. That's it. This one, there's no GCF, so I can go ahead and put my signs. I put a Q and a Q. I put opposite signs. I think it's going to be 7 and 6. Outside gives me positive, gives me -7q. Inside gives me positive 6q, and that equals -q. That means that this is my answer. Great. Again, I'm going to check for that GCF. I don't see it. So this is where I might use box method. I'll do first times last. That gets me -60 that adds to -7. Um, that could be -12 and 5, which it is. So I am going to move this over a little bit, and I'm going to draw my box over here. Now you got to be careful with this one because I'm still going to put 30x squared. And I'm going to put -2y squared down here. And then since this, normally I'd break it up into x and x, but since the middle term's xy, I would have -12xy. I would also have 5xy. Also, if you wanted to guess and check on this, you could too. So here's this one, and there's that one. So now I'm going to guess and check. I'm going to put 6x here. That means I need to put 5x here. That means positive y needs to go here. That means -2y needs to go there. And there's my factors. 5x minus 2y and 6x plus y. And I'm done. All right, for this one, first thing I'm going to do, take out my GCF. And this is small enough, I'm just going to guess and check. Put a 2y, put my sign, put y, put my sign. Put 3 here and a 1 here. I guess and check. 6y plus y is indeed 7y. So I know I did it right. Now this one's tricky. I'm actually going to rewrite this one as 25 minus x squared. Because normally when that plus sign is there, that means I can't use the shortcut. But if I rewrite it like this, I can put my opposite signs. I can put a 5 here, and a 5 here, an x here, and an x here. And I know it works because the middle term goes away. All right, last one. I'm gonna put my signs, negative and positive. And 75 is a pretty big number, but I'm gonna try 25 and 3. That won't work. I'm gonna try 15 and 5. Outside gives me +5. Inside gives me -15. Great. Works out. And that's the factoring. And we got a little bit more. So again, I'm going to take out the GCF. I get 5x squared plus 4x plus 3. Small enough that I can probably just guess and check. I'll put a 3 here and a 1 here. I get 5x plus 3x. That's 8x. Doesn't work. Maybe I switch the 3 and the 1. 3 here, 1 here. 15x plus x also doesn't work. So I'm going to check it. My first times last here gives me factors of 12 or 15. There are no factors of 15 that add to 4. So I know that this right here is as far as I can go. Can't factor it any further. It's not prime because I took out that x squared, but it doesn't factor any further. Great. For this one, I'm going to use the pattern. Get x squared minus 4, x squared plus 4. Now you need to be careful because we know when we have a plus sign here, we can't factor any further. But this, we can actually factor into x minus 2, x plus 2, and x squared plus 4. You can not factor that because there's a positive in the middle. That's as far as it goes. Great. All right, so here's what we want to check here. This breaks up into x and x. This breaks up into 64. If I do x times 8 times 2, I do indeed get 16x. So I know that this factors into x plus 8 squared. Now for this one, I get x, I get 7. X times 7 times 2 equals 14x. So this does not factor perfectly. And you could give me this as a reason. X times 7 times 2 does not equal 14x. Great. For this one. The problem here is I can't break up negative 81 equally because it's not positive. So you cannot take square root of negative number because of that negative right there. And for this one, I get 12 and x times 12 times 2 does indeed give me 24x, so we're good to go. All my equal sign, all my parentheses. I am going to put a negative because that term is negative, and I get x minus 12 squared. Great. Square root of 169 is 13. That makes this rational. You can't take the square root of negatives. That makes this neither, actually. This was not an option on your notes, and I wanted to talk about this. This is not a real number. It's not a real number, so it's neither. This is negative 8, so this is rational. And the one below it does not have a perfect square, so it is irrational. Great. All right, for this one below, again, let's remember our pattern. We get x squared plus 16, and then we're going to take x times negative 4 times 2. That gives us negative 8x. So that's what goes in the middle. For this one, we get 4c squared, we get plus d squared, and then you take 2c times negative d times 2, which gives us negative 4cd minus 4cd. All right, same thing here. 16x squared plus 49 y squared. I'll do 4x times 7y times 2. That gives me 28xy times 2, which is 56xy. All right, last one. A squared plus b squared, a times b times 2. That is 2ab. All right, and those are those. Now, I know I was here for this day, but I was not here for this one, so I want to make sure I go through this one nice and slow. I am gonna skip around a little bit. I'm actually going to start with simplifying the radicals. And the reason for that is because it's important for all the other stuff. So first thing I'm going to do here is that's a pretty big number, so I might try to break it down. I get 2 and 64. Bingo, there's my perfect square. Now I'm going to write it out like this, which gives me 8 root 2. You can also break it down. There's your pairs, and that's where the 8 comes from. So both are fine options. For this one, I know 75 is 25 square root 3, which is 5 square root 3. I could also break it down. There's my pairs. Pairs go on the outside, leftovers stay underneath. Great, again, for this one, square root 9, square root 3, that should be a 6. And it gives me 3 square root 6. Again, if you like to break it down, you get 6 and 9, and 3 and 3. There's your pairs on the outside. And for the last one, hopefully you see this. Square root 100, square root 5. That gives me 10 square root 5. If I break it down over here, I get 105. And there's my pairs right there. Great. Now that takes me up to these guys. So the reason that this is helpful is because I use this when I'm breaking some of these down. Now, I'm actually going to change some of these because I want you to have a little bit more practice. So I am going to change this to 36. Great. Actually, no, I'm going to keep that as 18. And then on your scrimmage, I will change this to be a 20. Great. So on this one, first thing you got to do is you got to isolate the square. So I'm going to divide by 2, and I get x minus 5 squared equals 9. And the only way you get rid of square is to take the square root. So I get x minus 5. You have to put a plus or minus 3. Now from this point, I'm going to break it up into 2 equations. X minus 5 equals 3. X minus 5 equals negative 3. And I would solve. X is equal to 8. And x is equal to positive 2. Because I would add 5 on both sides. Great. For this one, I take the square root. There's no such thing as a positive square root of 0, which is 0. So I'm going to add the 12. I get 4x is equal to 12. So x will be 3. Great. Same thing for here. Go on ahead, take the square root, and I get 6 minus x. Now I'm going to put plus or minus square root of 14. Now 14 does not break down. So what I'm going to do is I subtract the 6, and I get negative x is equal to plus or minus square root of 14. Now I'm not going to be too particular about this, but I will say when you divide a plus or minus by a negative, you are supposed to flip the signs to be negative and positive, and then this would become a positive 6. Again, it's just common notation. I'm not going to be picky about it because, again, at the end of the day, it's still plus or minus, but it's just something to be aware of. And then we got this guy right here. Now, the reason I changed this is that because I wanted you to get some practice breaking down the radicals when they're in the problem you're solving. So like, for instance, 20 breaks down into square root 4 square root 5. So I would have to change this to 2 square root 5. Now, yes, you do lose points if your radicals are not simplified. So please make sure to check to make sure that simplifies. All right, now I'm going to hop up here. So these kind of work the same way. You want to do what we call bifurcate, which basically just means it's kind of like taking the square root. You're going to split it up into its plus or minus. So you get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 8. And then I break it up into x minus 3 equals positive 8. And x minus 3 equals negative 8. This gives me negative 5. And this gives me 11 when I add 3 to both sides. Great. Now, you can't bifurcate until it's by itself, kind of like the last one. I still get x equals plus or minus 0, except that doesn't exist. So then when I subtract 6, I would just get x equals -6. Now you got to be careful with this one. Technically, you cannot take the square, and you can't take the square root of a negative, and you can't take the absolute value, or you can't have an absolute value equal to a negative. So you can't have a square equal to a negative. But when I divide by this little imaginary 1 out here, I get 2x minus 5 equals positive 3. So then this is something I can actually solve. I get 2x minus 5 equals positive 3, and 2x minus 5 equals negative 3. I'll get 2x equals 8, so x is equal to 4. And then when I add 5 on both sides, I get 2x equals 2, so x is equal to 1. Great. And then we go here, same thing. Treat it just as if I were solving a regular problem. Now here's where we get an issue. Technically, I would split it up from here, but you can't have, I can't spell, an absolute value equal to a, you can't have an absolute value equal to a negative. It can't be equal to a negative. Same thing, a square cannot be equal to a negative. So you cannot have this. Big no-no. Big no-no. Okay? Just keep that in mind. It is no solution. So the answer here is no solution. Great. All right, last section. And these are all just big numbers. I wanted you to get some practice with either factoring by grouping or box method. So I'm going to use box method, but I'm going to do 8 times 15, which is 120. So I need the factors of 120 that add to -22. That is bum, 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 bum. And they both need to be -8 and 15. So I'll go over, do my little box, get 8x squared plus 15. I'm breaking up the middle, so I have -8x and -15x. I'm going to put the 8x here and the x here. To go from 8x to -8x, I put a -1. To go from x to -15, I put a -15. And so this simplifies to be x minus 1 and 8x minus 15. Again, you only use this when the numbers are big. So for this one, I might try guess and check first. 5x minus plus, put a 3, put a 2, put a 2x. I get -15x plus 4x, and I actually got lucky the first time. It's -11x, so all I need to do is switch my signs. What did I just have? So this will be negative, and this will be positive. Now, you're not always going to be that lucky, so let's say you got stuck and you wanted to use box method. Factors of -60 that add to 11 are going to be -4 and 15. That's a terrible box. I get 10x squared minus 6, -4x, 15x. Put the 5x here, the 2x here. To go from 5 to 15, you put the +3. And to go from 2 to -4, you put a -2, which is exactly what I got right here. All right, and I'll do one more of these. I'm going to do this guy. Factors of -24, that's a -5, are going to be -8 and 3. Put my box. Split up my middle term. 3x here, and a 4x here, which means a +1 goes here, and a -2 goes there. So I get 3x minus 2 and 4x plus 1. And that's it. Great. Maybe I will just do this last one. So the factors of -120 that add to 7. Gotta be opposite signs. Um, that will be 15 and 8. And 6x squared. This has got to be 2x. This has got to be 3x. This has got to be -4. And this has got to be +5. So there we go. 2x plus 5 and 3x minus 4. And that's it. Again, feel free to kind of hop around in the scrimmage, watch the video however you need to, but that is the end.